snare drummers can get away with playing a German grip where it's flat, an American grip where it's at an angle, or even a French grip where your thumb is up. You can do any of those. But with tenors, it is much harder to play with a German grip. If we take a look at this and we're doing like a crossover here, a wrist over wrist crossover, there's more surface area for the back end of my stick to hit here, which can create some issues, which is why you can see, generally speaking, more tenor lines will play with a French grip. So look at the change in the surface area here for how much potential impact I can have with the back end of the stick onto the wrist when you're playing this. So if you're playing with a German grip, there's a way more surface area, a little bit less with American grip, but significantly less if you're playing with a French grip on here. So when you see tenor players play, they might have a completely different technique with their right hand compared to the snare line, which might be flat at a tilt, or it could be as a French grip. Before I get to the next tip, I just want to say really quickly that you can find literally thousands of hours of free drumming play-alongs and drumming tips in the link at the top of the description or by going into my home tab of YouTube. You might have some difficult tenor sweeps that you are unable to play right now. For example, if you're playing stick control where you're playing right, 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 left, so, and you have like 3 drum sweeps on it, and you're unable to get it right now. You can start off by playing a check, where it's just one measure of playing the sticking pattern, so right, 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 left. And then add in the first drum that you're going to add into the split. So for example, we might go, and then you go back into check on one drum. And then add in the second drum of the split. Or maybe even, then you add in the third note of the split. So you basically are alternating between vertical, all on one drum, and then adding in a note. And then vertical, all on one drum, adding in another note. Why are we going back to the home base of the vertical? It makes it so that you are focusing on that consistent technique, so you don't all of a sudden get like the tenor heights that you might see where like maybe you're playing a split pattern with like flam accents, and all of a sudden your taps are raised and your accents are lowered, and you're playing something like that as opposed to, because you're focusing so much on the split. So if you go back from vertical into a split, vertical split, and you're just adding in one note at a time, this can make it so that you can slowly get better at it. Now, one of the ways that you can practice this is to start slow and then go fast, and then slow it back down again so you can refine your technique for that. There's actually an exercise, or a tool rather, that is specifically designed for that on my website under the technique section. So you can either do fast, fast, or slow, fast, slow. There are different subdivisions in here where it's either the quarter note, eighth note, triplet, or 16th note. It starts off at a faster speed. So let's say your starting tempo is 100 beats a minute. It'll go one click at a time slower all the way down to 40, and then it'll hold there for 4 measures, and then it'll go back up to your starting tempo. And it does that from 60 all the way up to 240. Now the opposite of this is slow, fast, slow. So slow, fast, slow will start off at 40 beats a minute and then go up to whatever your highest tempo is that you want it to go up to, and then it'll slow it back down to 40. And again, it does it with quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, and 16th notes. So this is a great way that you can work on timing exercises, you can work on rudiments, you can work on splits, and just sit there and like do vertical for a measure and then split for a measure, and start with maybe 1 note, 2 notes, 3 notes, etc. When it comes to tenor drums, the thing is that you have to focus on not just moving around the drums, but the first thing you need to focus on is actually just playing vertically so that you sound good on one drum, and then slowly branching out so that you're playing on multiple drums. You can see this like in a lot of DCI and WGI groups, etc., where they'll play everything on one drum the very first time they're playing through it, and then the second time they'll work on whatever it is that they're working on and move it around the drum. Same thing with like basses, they'll do unisons and then they'll go into their split pattern, etc. Anything that you work on for snare drum can be worked on for tenor drums. A lot of people will spend like all their time working on snare licks or like a tenor lick or whatever, and thinking that that's what's going to get them onto the DCI or the WGI group. But really, it's all about how well can you play the technique exercises. What I recommend, generally speaking, is about 50% of your time should be on technique stuff. So there's 117 technique exercises here. So really just slow these down, focus on relaxed technique, etc. Then about 30 to 40% of your time should be on grid variations. So there's 514 currently for 16th note, and there are 372 for triplet grid variation. Most of your time, just spend it working on diddle on one, flam on one, cheese on one, drag on one, flam 5 on one. All these other ones are cool, but if you just focus on those few, both as triplet and as 16th note, that'll keep you busy for a long time. And then maybe 10 to 20% of your time should be on like the chop exercises. exercises. If you spend the majority of your time working on this, 50% here and 30 to 40% here, this is also technically technique work. So that's 80 to 90% of your time working on just technique. Then you'll be golden. Technique more important than building chops. Yes, hands down, technique is the number one thing to do. 50 to 60% of your time should be on technique exercises. 30 to 40%-ish should be on grid variations. Now, the thing is, grid variations are also a way to work on technique. So really, like 80 to 90% of what I recommend for people to practice is technique-related stuff. The grid variations are specifically for working on rudiments in context. So you're permutating an accent around the beat. Accent on 1 for an entire measure. Accent on the second partial for an entire measure, accent on 3 for the entire measure, and accent on 4 for the entire measure. And then it does 4 counts of those, 2 counts of those, 1 count of those. If you do this with any rudiment on 1, so for example, diddle on 1, flam drag on 1, cheese on 1, flam 5 on 1, blah, 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 blah. If you work on those and permutate those accents across it, that's going to significantly improve your technique. However, most of the students that I've worked with have focused on chop exercises. And like we were able to play like really fast licks, but that is like the candy of your drumming. What you need to focus on are the vegetables. You also need to focus on like the protein and the carbs. You can't just focus on the sugar that you're gonna get. These are fun to play, but there's a reason why I only have currently 55 of those, and I have like over 900 grid variations, and once I schedule it, we'll have over 250 technique exercises. It's because these are more important, and I wanna get these out sooner before I make more chop stuff, because this is what really sets you apart. One of the things that I like to use are these like Vic Firth headphones. You can plug them in with an audio jack. They do have a Bluetooth version as well now. And it muffles the sound, but doesn't completely isolate it out like if you're using like some sound isolating earbuds. So that way you can still hear your drumming on top of whatever it is you're listening to. So I would do this not only for drum kit, which you see me doing on like the drum kit streams, but back when I taught drumline, we'd give this to the center snare so that they would listen to like a metronome or music or whatever, and they would use this to be able to still hear their playing and stay in time, and the whole line had to listen to them rather than the doctor beat, which doesn't actually train you to listen into the center. The doctor beat trains you to listen into the doctor beat. So this makes it so that only the center snare or center tenor or whatever can hear it, instructor, whoever is going to be using them. So I highly recommend that to protect your ears and whatnot. Do I ever play a legato stroke? There's an exercise called rebound that works on legato strokes, but it puts it in context where you're also working on rhythms. Stick control is also putting it in context. So if you do like advanced stick control with filler, which is one of my favorite stick control variations, this exercise, when you're playing it, these are legato strokes. Etc. It's just putting in context. Just sitting there and only working on 8 on a hand at this point is not super relevant for somebody like me who's been playing for 26 years. There's a problem with like some people when they work on drumming stuff, it's so in isolation that you don't actually put it all together, and so it's the combination that screws things up. Like yeah, you can play rolls fine and you can play flams fine, but then when you combine them together, then it sounds like something that even your grandma would know. That's dirty.